This anime tells the story about Touya Mochizuki, who accidentally dies, and as an apology from God, he is to be reborn in a fantasy world and will grant him one wish that he wants. So, he chose to keep his smartphone in the next world. How is Touya's adventure in his new world? Let's find out in Another World with My Smartphone.
異世界はスマートフォンとともに
In Another World with My Smartphone tells a young man named Touya Mochizuki, who is sitting opposite an old man who is actually a god. The god told him that he had died because of an accident caused by the god, which caused him to be killed. As an apology, the god then offered him to live again. However, he cannot return to his old life, and instead, the god will send him to another entirely different world. He then agreed to the god's offer and asked that he could bring his smartphone with him. By making a few modifications to his cell phone to be adapted to the conditions in the new world, the god then granted his wish. Not only revive and send him to a new world, but the god also increases his physical and cognitive powers and equips him with magical abilities. When he arrives in a new world, he meets a man who seems interested in his clothes. The man then told him that he wanted to buy his clothes. He was then invited by the man to a clothing store in Reflet, where he was then bought new clothes and given money because the man managed to sell his clothes at a high price. After that, when he was about to look for an inn, he accidentally saw two girls being harassed by a group of thugs. He also rushed to help them, who turned out to be a pair of twin sisters named Elze and Linze Sielhaueska. Elze, the girl with long hair, thanked him for helping them. Knowing that he was looking for an inn, Linze, the short-haired girl, told him they were staying at an inn and took him there. Knowing that Elze and Linze mastered magical powers, he begged them to be taught to use magical powers. Linze then took out some elemental magic stones and asked him to try them one by one. He can master all elements of magic, which makes Elze and Linze surprised because they have never met someone who can master all elements of magic like him. When Touya, Elze, and Linze were visiting the city of Amanesk, they saw a girl who was being bullied by a group of delinquents. The three of them rushed to save the girl known as Kokonoe Yai. Because Touya and the others had helped her, she decided to join their group and head to Alefa's capital city, the capital of the Kingdom of Belfast. On the way, when Touya was honing his magic skills, he realized a fierce fight going on in the middle of the forest that they were about to pass. Touya and the others rushed there and found a noble daughter named Sushiania Ortlinde, and her bodyguards being attacked by a gang of bandits. He can easily defeat the bandits. Even though Sushi is fine, her butler is seriously injured and dying. Touya treated the butler with his magic power and made him healthy again. Sushi turns out to be the daughter of the Duke of Belfast, who lives in Alephis. Impressed by the abilities possessed by Touya and the other girls, Sushi and her butler then asked them to escort her and her butler to Alephis. Long story short, Touya and the others finally arrived at Sushi's house and met her father, the Duke of Belfast. The Duke tells him about his wife who is blind. Because he can cure the Duke's wife of the severe blindness she experienced, Touya then receives a considerable amount of money. Arriving at Alephis, Yai apparently decided to stay in Touya's group and follow every journey with them because according to her, he is a great magician. Shortly after leaving Sushi's house and continuing their journey, Touya, Elze, Linze, and Yai engaged in a battle with the Dark Knight in ancient city ruins. After defeating the enemy, Touya and the others found an object under the ruins of the old city. However, it suddenly turned into a monster while investigating further and attacked them. Touya worked with the others to defeat the monsters that could absorb their magic power. After defeating the monster, Touya and the others reported the incident to the Duke of Belfast and submitted some authentic evidence to support their story. A few days later, Touya is suddenly visited by the Duke of Belfast, who informs him that King Tristwin, the King of Belfast, is dying and is thought to have been poisoned. The Duke, who panicked, then invited Touya to come with him to the palace so that he could heal the king with his magic power. Arriving at the castle, Touya meets Count Balsa, who looks suspicious, and his attitude is also very annoying. Everyone seemed relieved and happy when Touya finally managed to heal King Tristwin, including the king's daughter, Yumina Ernia Belfast. Touya then investigates the incident that poisoned the king and proves that the person who deliberately poisoned the king was Count Balsa. Impressed by his magical powers and deductive abilities, Yumina falls in love with him. Not long after, Yumina asked her parents to marry Touya. Suddenly this made everyone surprised, including Touya. Because Yumina was still 12 years old, her parents gave her and Touya time to get to know each other better for a few years until she reached the age of old enough to get married. Not only that, but she will also join Touya in his group, whereas the other girls can only surrender to the princess's wishes, who wants to join them and is now officially dating Touya. Yumina, who mastered summoning magic, then taught Touya the magic until finally, he could summon a divine beast named Kohaku. Kohaku then asked Touya to show his strength. But because he was too overpowered, Kohaku finally collapsed and recognized Touya's greatness as a sorcerer. Kohaku then becomes Touya's pet divine beast, who takes the form of a cute white cat every day. Because Touya refused to be knighted by the king then presented him with a magnificent and luxurious house, inviting Yumina, Elze, Linze, Yae, and Kohaku to live with him. One day, the Duke of Belfast came to visit and asked Touya and the others to go to the kingdom of Mismede because they had important business to attend to. Long story short, Touya and the others then rushed to carry out the mission from the Duke of Belfast. However, upon arriving at a village outside the Mismede kingdom, Touya and others find the village attacked by a ferocious dragon. Touya immediately fights against the dragon while the others try to save the villagers. After successfully slaying the dragon and rescuing the villagers, Touya and the others finally continued their journey and arrived at Beiruju capital city, the capital of the kingdom of Mismede. Knowing that Touya has great magical powers, King Jamaka then challenges him to a fight. Touya accepts the challenge and is very happy to learn that he can discover a new magic from King Jamaka. Touya finally won the fight. That night, while resting in the palace, Touya was visited by a living doll who asked him to follow it to a place, where he then met a girl named Lean. Lean is a 600-year-old fairy who is the tribal chief of the fairy tribe in the kingdom of Mismede. Lean, who knows Touya's magical abilities, then teaches him some new magic so he can increase his strength. The next day, while taking a walk in the capital, Kohaku told Touya that they were being followed. He can easily spot their stalkers using his new magic, none other than Yumina's servants ordered by the king to keep an eye on her. One day, Touya and the other girls had finished their business in the Mismede kingdom and returned to the Belfast kingdom. Lean suddenly came to Touya at his house, where she then told him about the ruins in the territory of the country of Ishan, which was none other than the country where Yae came from. Lean then tells Touya that his magic powers can be combined to make it easier for him. Lean then asked Yae to recall the atmosphere in his hometown, where Touya would connect his thoughts and Yae's thoughts so that Touya could learn about the atmosphere in Yae's hometown and teleport there. Because the condition for doing teleportation magic is that he must first know the situation and the location he wants to go to. After getting that image from Yae's mind, Touya and the other girls rushed to Ishin and visited the Kokonoe family's residence. However, Yae's mother told her that her father and her older brother were fighting against the enemy upon arrival. Touya, Yae, and the other girls immediately helped her family against the enemy forces without thinking. Touya could easily defeat the enemy army alone. But Yae's father informed him that the enemy army leader was currently hiding in the castle. After freeing the prisoners, Touya finally came face to face with the enemy army leader, and he was again able to defeat him easily. Because he had helped wipe out all the enemy troops, they then told him about the location of the Neruya ruins that Lean was referring to. Long story short, Touya and the other girls rushed to the location of the Neruya ruins, which turned out to be at the bottom of the sea. Touya then tries to find the position of Neruya's ruins on the seabed via the magic GPS on his cell phone. After seeing the exact location, Touya rushed to dive there and managed to find the ruins, but he was out of breath and decided to swim back to the surface. Kohaku then told about a way for Touya to breathe underwater, where he apparently had to summon other divine beasts, namely a turtle and a snake. After making a pact with the divine beasts, Touya began his journey to the bottom of the sea and managed to reach the ruins of Neruya. After reaching the ruins, Touya found a circle that looked like a magic circle, then used his magic to unravel the mysteries in the ruins. Apparently, he moved to another place because the circle was actually a portal to the Sky Garden of Babylon. He then meets a robot named Francesca, who is in charge of maintaining and managing the park. It then explained that the Sky Garden was created as a hobby by Regina Babylon, or commonly called Dr. Babylon. It is called a Sky Garden because it is floating in the sky and has 4 Partheno dome, which grants the garden invisibility. The garden itself resembles a botanical garden that was enchanted with durability and sustainability, minimizing its maintenance. Because Touya managed to reach the Sky Garden through a magic portal, he was set as the owner of the Sky Garden on orders from Dr. Babylon. After that, Touya then invited the other girls in Kohaku to visit the Sky Garden. Yumina then asks the other girls about their feelings for Touya, to which they all admit that they have fallen in love with him. Yumina and the others then joined him. Lean and Francesca were discussing how vast and beautiful the Sky Garden was. Francesca then made a contract to confirm Touya as the owner of the Sky Garden of Babylon, which turned out to be done by kissing. Suddenly this made Yumina and the other girls feel very jealous. It didn't stop there. Lindsay even stole the start from her other friends by expressing her love for Touya and kissing him. After they finally returned to Touya's house, it turned out that he was still thinking about Lindsay's declaration of love and then her kiss. After that, Yumina came to Touya's room and asked about his feelings toward Lindsay. Touya then admitted to Yumina that he also really likes Lindsay. On the other hand, Lindsay, who was secretly using invisible magic like Lin taught her, suddenly appeared and seemed very happy to know that Touya also liked her. Yumina then tells them that they can all become Touya's wives, because in their country, a man who has many wives is common. The next day, Touya must face Elze and Yae, who challenges him to a fight, where the two of them are finally able to defeat him by working together. Having defeated Touya, Elze and Yae begged him to take them as wives. Yumina, who heard that, seemed happy and said Touya could marry them at once. However, Touya looks confused and asks the girls some time to think about it because the truth is that he is not ready to get married right now. On the other hand, Francesca, who is now Touya's servant, says that Dr. Babylon wants to talk to him through a sophisticated device made by the doctor. After talking to Dr. Babylon, Touya then went to God to discuss his problems with the girls. Because God also doesn't really understand love, the old man then summons a goddess of love who then gives advice and wise advice about love to Touya. After enlightenment from the gods, Touya returned to his house and told Yumina and the other girls that he was not ready to get married for now, and asked them to wait until he and they were prepared to build a happy and harmonious relationship household. Yumina and the other girls seem to understand and accept Touya's decision. The anime ends by showing Francesca telling Lin that Touya will later have 9 wives, which he learns from Dr. Babylon, who can know the future.